some campaigns, whoever's the campaign sponsor, they may be very aggressive about even calling the agents. Like we did a campaign with orphans, and we generated numerous leads and distributed them to agents or to a lead coordinator who had to distribute it to an agent. And they're actually calling the agent and say, hey, you got a lead yesterday. What happened? Now, we didn't have the luxury or the resources to do that on all the campaigns. That was a smaller campaign. But for the most part, yeah, we're just relying on the agent. They get the leads, they're notified of the lead, that they have new leads in their lead box, and they should open those leads and act on it. We've tossed around ideas about, we need to make them disposition their leads, or, maybe incentivize them to disposition their leads, but we have not gone that step.
Just as a follow-up question, if I may, what are the percentages in terms of agents telling you what action they took, and what categories of actions are there in terms of their disposition?
I've looked at it a few times over the last few years, and it seems like about 20% of the leads are dispositioned by the agents. And typically, when they disposition it, they're going to disposition whether they made an appointment or not, and then whether they followed it up with a sale. Sometimes they'll disposition that they were unsuccessful in making the appointment. You just have some agents who do everything the right way, follow all the guidelines, and then others who they just don't care about, doing things that aren't required of them because they want to be out selling. They don't want to be in our company systems dispositioning leads. So.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for you, Patrick. You mentioned in your remarks two campaigns going on at the same time. How do you prioritize, I guess, when you have different marketing folks approaching you on wanting to do campaigns? How many is too many going on at once, and how do you determine, I guess, within the organization, which are the ones that should be focused on at any given time?
That's a good question. We do have a lot of campaigns. We used to have a lot more home office, corporate sponsored campaigns. We've narrowed that down. There's probably just about 10 of them that are big. Most of them are direct mail. There's some outbound telemarketing, some email. But, we know what campaigns work because we've been testing this for years. Like our term conversion campaign, hugely successful. So that's always going to get a priority over some other campaigns. And also there's certain months of the year that are better for generating leads. At New York Life, May through July tend not to be very good. September, October, January, February, very good months for going out with the campaign and generating leads. There's also months that aren't good because it's the month where the agents are trying to meet their goal. End of June, end of December, a couple of months that are critical for the agents. So we try not to have campaigns and a lot of noise out in the field during those 2 months. One other question.
Patrick, I have a question for you. You talked about your control group that you have, and you kind of benchmark what happens against that control group. Do you have any fear that by not contacting that control group, do you watch about retention in that control group to see if, no contact with New York Life during that period of time is either going to increase that group or decrease that group from that standpoint?
I guess we haven't really been too concerned about it because that group still gets contacted. They get contacted by our policy owner services. So like anything that's contractual with their policy, they're going to get a letter or a statement or a bill from that group. And also, the agents themselves have the freedom to contact this group on their own. So if an agent agrees to buy a company newsletter, they can send it to this group. We have no control over that. The global control is just controlled for the corporate sponsored campaigns. So it's not perfect. However, we can control what we can't control. But we're not going to tell an agent, say, you've got this client, Johnny, over here, he's in the global control, and you can't send him an email or a newsletter or anything. They're still sending, they're calling those clients and they're sending them materials. So,
if I could maybe ask a follow-up to that. When you talk about this global control, and then you talk about comparing it to the population you're marketing to, there was a big question mark and people who receive the communication and go directly to their agent. Have you considered, giving yourself more credit for that campaign, right? Because you didn't include that in your analysis at all, is there a way to assume that, there was X percentage or X number of responders that, based on your communication, did contact their agent directly and then basically resulted in more business for you?
Well, we really did take credit for those sales. If I'm a client and I got the letter, the lead generation letter, and I saw that my agent's name and phone number on the letter, and I called him direct, and then we get together and we write a life insurance policy. The sales capture process only looks at three things: the last name, street address, and 5-digit zip code. If I get a match, then that goes into the formula that I showed up there as an observed sale. So the more of those sales I get, I just take all those observed sales and I subtract out the global control sales. And that's where I get my value.
So it's not included in that 0.3% response rate, but it's included in your final. It's included in your final
the
ROI.
sales and premium commission is included, but the leads, that's the big, we don't know.
Gotcha.
We'd have to pull all the agents and say, hey, how many people called you? For this kid, they're not getting to.
But you're really capturing the important number, right? Which is what's generating the business.
I'd love to have both, but yeah, really, you pay your bills with premium and commission. So I'm happy with that. I'd love to have both.
Gotcha.
And just to follow up on that too, the calculation for that, is it any sale? It seems that the act of the agent talking to the client is a goal. And we're looking for sales in a particular category, but are we capturing any sale or is it a sale in a specific category?
It could be any sale, any life insurance, annuity, long-term care, mutual fund sale, as long as it's in that 6-month window.
Okay.
We get it in the 6-month window and we get a match on last name, zip code, street address, we're taking credit.